There have been gradual, incremental changes to the open world in Tom Clancy's Division 2 in the past year, but I think it's time the devs stepped it up a bit and introduced something more revolutionary. My idea: a new mode that levels up the open world in a big way in a new game mode called Warfront. This mode involves speed, daring, and strategy. Stay tuned to hear the details.
Hey agents, it's Dispatch. Welcome to the channel where we talk about the math, builds, lore, and game design of Tom Clancy's The Division 2. Let's get stuck into it.
I honestly don't know how hard this would be for the devs to implement, but at the very least I think they could take certain elements of this idea and implement them fairly easily. We've already had Black Tusk invasions, but they don't really feel like there's actually an invasion going on. We don't really feel the presence, the oppression of the enemy forces. Now, with this new mode, it's an actual invasion, and there is a war front. The idea behind this is to make changes to the open world behavior, environment, AI, and interactions to increase immersion and strategy. Now you just can't run around willy-nilly fast traveling and destroying enemy activities with no repercussions. Now you need to think about how you are going to attack the enemy and push them back. The ultimate goal: push the enemy factions out and take their territory. I would call it invasion, but that name is already taken, as is conquest from the Battlefield franchise, so Warfront will have to do. Because we're treating this place like an actual war zone now, gone are public executions and propaganda broadcasts. Now it's all patrols, elite patrols, territory controls, elite territory controls, and some new activities that we'll talk about later. No more enemies just milling about watching the grass grow. Now they're actually pulling security and paying attention. You can't just roll up on them with a Hunter's Fury build and blast them all down. Now they'll see you coming. But let's step back a bit and take a look at how the activities will interact before we go any further. We're building on what's already here. When playing on difficulties challenging and below, we can see certain activities have a +1 or +2 on them. This means when we complete these activities, the quote-unquote alert level of the corresponding control point will increase by that amount, and it will be more difficult. This gave us better loot, but also made that activity harder. For Warfront, attacking any activity triggers a response from the surrounding activities. Activities in neighboring zones will send reinforcements to the surrounding activities. This will weaken the activities farther away, but strengthen the activities close by. You can ambush those reinforcements if you move quickly enough, but make no mistake, when those reinforcements reach their intended destinations, they will become much stronger. Activities can now go to levels 5 and 6. 5 might be a master level difficulty, 6 might even be legendary level. As I mentioned, there are ways to get around this. You can attack reinforcements en route, move to weaker areas, or attack certain activities. We're adding new activities, such as Ammo Depot and Leadership Post. These activities will be special. These will not be on the front line, rather they will be farther away from the White House than things like territory controls and control points. Capturing these areas instead of strengthening adjacent areas like other activities will actually weaken them. So if you want to make the sector easier to conquer, take a couple extra minutes to bypass the front line and strike at the rear areas. Ammo Depot has more heavily armored enemies with more explosives. Leadership Post has many named enemies, some of which can use SHD tech like in the normal game. These activities won't have enemies randomly coming out of doors or manholes or trucks for the most part. Reinforcements will come down the streets from farther out of sight to increase immersion. Most activities won't have a reinforcing wave, but will have a much greater number of enemies in the original occupation of the area. This will allow you to perform recon, assess your skills, position, and plan of attack. But also, be prepared. A reinforcing wave may have already started on its way and might arrive at any moment during the initial fight. You must be able to not only plan, but adapt that plan when the need arises. Cover will be reorganized to better facilitate defenses and frustrate your attacks, at least from the anticipated direction. Explore the area, as these activity locations provide new opportunities to gain the upper hand on the enemy. After you take over territory, it is also subject to counterattack depending on the enemy strength at other areas in the sector and how many directions it can be attacked from. For example, if you strike right at the center of a sector, it may be subject to heavy counterattack. If you want to hold that territory, you'll need to progress quickly through the other activities to reduce avenues of attack. There will be additional UI elements to show how likely it is for an area to be retaken or how much threat it is under. Different sectors and different areas will have different values of defensibility. Settlements will be under attack. Reaching them and freeing them from threat will boost your forces in the sector and weaken enemy forces. Depending on these factors, enemies may even abandon some locations outright. Blazing a complete trail through enemy forces and surrounding an enemy location or sector will severely weaken or eliminate enemy presence in that area. The challenge will be holding that trail until you can complete it. As you make your way through enemy territory, you may be ambushed. Enemies might also be lurking in places you've never seen before. Enemies will have extended sightlines and alert behavior, and they won't stop chasing you like they will in the original game if they sense they have the advantage. If you do need to break contact, expect it to be messy, and find a defensible location to hold your ground because they won't give up. Missions are no longer accessible. Instead, some of the front areas and/or exiting areas are open, but the doors inside buildings will remain shut. Outside are enemies pulling security, an exterior path to the roof if applicable, such as with the Viewpoint Museum with its elevator, or an exterior rappel. These are prime locations for leadership and ammo stockpiles. In addition, the ammo boxes strewn about the map will be greatly reduced, so it's testing your ammo management. Can you take the next couple areas, or do you need to avoid combat and take on an ammo stockpile instead? Now, there are a lot of changes in here. This mode will be a copy of the existing map, but with significant changes that will be accessible through the Map Global Settings menu, just like changing directives and/or difficulty. You'll be able to toggle the mode on, which will bring you onto the new map. In addition, you will be able to choose the enemy faction that you will fight, or you can even select a mix of factions. XP is awarded per activity, but large sums of XP are awarded for clearing sectors, and the rewards increase exponentially the more sectors you clear. The reward for conquering the whole map? Maybe 10 Season Pass levels or 10 Journey levels. The loot will be selectable through targeted loot, or maybe it will give strictly other currency that can be spent later on in caches to avoid having to run everywhere for loot and to avoid having to manage your inventory, which takes time and takes you out of the fight. Since this game mode is intended to take a long time, it will not progress while you are offline, and it will save your progress when you exit the mode. Much like the New York map, the situation won't change while you're not playing. This new game mode will test your strategy on how to conquer the map, tactics on how to tackle each objective, and game knowledge of your build's strengths and weaknesses. In return, you get an unrivaled experience with excellent rewards, unforgettable journeys, and a satisfying conclusion. Peace in DC. Alright, agents, so that's my pitch for the next game mode in the Division 2. Heck, maybe something along these lines will be coming up in the battle for Brooklyn. If not, maybe hope for the Division 3. Either way, is this idea genius or stupid? Is it too little or too much? I, of course, think it would be an epic odyssey, especially to play with friends and experience it together. I think this would add a whole new dimension to the game without requiring super massive changes. Of course, something like changing the AI sight distance and alert behavior might not be possible, but dropping those items wouldn't completely destroy the idea. The devs can pick and choose what's feasible and what's not. But anyway, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, agents. Like and subscribe if you want to see more crazy ideas like this. And until next time, this has been Dispatch. Take care out there.